Hi, Amy T. Meyer with Helping the Brave, and I am the lone soldier today as your podcast host. I'm Amy T. Meyer, like I said, Helping the Brave. My co host, one is stuck in an airport, and the other is homesick. And so I get the pleasure actually of introducing a good friend of mine, Brittney Hamilton, who's the executive director and president of Operation Ward 57. Thank you so much for joining me today, Brittany.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
So, we always have with Helping the Brave, we have found that there's silos of information. So sometimes, the Army's great with talking to the Army soldiers, Air Force is great with the Air Force mission, whatever and what have you. But we found that there's sometimes missing resources for veterans across the U.S. And so my co-host Ed Parcaut really wanted to create this broadcast so that we could kind of speak from many different facets and make sure that everybody is aware of all the different great things out there. So, Brittany, I've known you for a number of years. Tell us about Operation Ward 57.
Yeah, so where to start? So, Operation Ward 57 is a nonprofit that serves wounded veterans and their families and their loved ones. We also support Gold Star families. And we got started. Ward 57 was known as the amputee ward at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. Our co-founder was a nurse on the ward, and that was kind of in the height of Iraq, Afghanistan, and the injuries that were kind of coming in, and the hospital was overwhelmed. Um, and they started the nonprofit at that time to really boost morale on the ward, and not only for the patients, but even just the staff and to buy supplies for the ward. But really, honestly, over time, it became very clear that there was a need beyond just Ward 57. So Operation Ward 57 it serves nationwide. We still have a group out at Walter Reed, and then I'm here on the West Coast, and a lot of our programs are available nationwide. And we're really just here to help in any way that we can from the moment they're in the hospital to lifelong in their recovery. So we don't put a cap on, you know, how long you've been out, um, or if it doesn't have to be combat related injuries or illnesses, stateside injuries, excuse me, illnesses, cancer, PTSD, all of that kind of stuff comes from a lot of places. So we want to make sure that we're including that. So um, we have lots of programs available that we want to do to help, and that's what we're here for.
So, if somebody wanted to find out more about you, where would they go?
So the best way, we do have our website, which is operationward57.org. That's our kind of generic website. It's got some of our basic program information. We're very active on Facebook and Instagram. That's where we tend to be a little more day to day. That way where we post events and opportunities for folks. Um, and generally, if you're in need of something, the easiest way is to just email us and we get the ball rolling with whatever you need, or reach out through Facebook. So we're real simple in terms of how people can reach out to us to get assistance or learn about it. Um, I've always told people our programs are sometimes very tailored to whatever the individual needs. A lot of people get sent to us because they fall through the cracks with other organizations and they don't qualify. So sometimes it's hard for us to describe what we do and how we can help. So a lot of times I just tell people just reach out and let me know what the need is, and we'll see if we can help. And if not, let's try to pair you with another organization that does, or find that assistance.
So that's very cool. How long have you been a part of Operation Ward 57?
So I started. really in the first year of the nonprofit. I didn't actually know it at the time that the nonprofit was just getting off the ground. I went to a friend was in a reality show, a battle of the bands, a high school friend, and I went to go see him. Um, they were doing a screening, and they were all at this show wearing War 57 shirts, and I was like, what's going on? And he started to tell me, he said, well, here, the executive director's here. Do you want to meet her? And so I met her and started talking with her. And this was the height again of the war, and I didn't know how to help. I was really one of those people that was like, I'm in college. I don't have any money. I don't have any talents. I can't sing or dance or, do anything. I was like, how do I help? And she was like, buy a shirt and it's going to directly help, a recovering service member. And I was like, well, I could do that. And I can ask my friends to buy a shirt. And then she said, and you can volunteer. And so I just said, okay, this is how I can help. And I started volunteering right at the beginning. And then several years later, she stepped down, and I said, I'm happy, I don't want this to go away. And I took over as executive director, and have been doing it ever since. And it's, I always say it's one of those things you never know when you're volunteering, how it can change your life. It's amazing how a simple decision to just help, turned into this. I mean, it completely changed the trajectory of, what I was doing and what I was involved with. So it's been since about, I think it was 2006 or 2007. So long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quite a wild ride, huh?
I know. The funny thing too is that first where I went to go see my friend was Hooters. So I always say it started at Hooters. So,
That's funny. What has been over the years, what has been your favorite program in Operation Ward 57?
Oh, there's a few of them. It's hard to pick one. I definitely will say that the adoptive family that we do is something that's really special to me. We started this many years ago, or actually I did, because basically what was happening is we were getting Christmas time, we were getting bombarded with requests for assistance for Christmas gifts. But then at the same time, I was having all these amazing people who were like, we want to help a military family. How do we do that? And so I was like, hey, why don't we do this program where I pair these sponsors up with these families? So we've been doing it for many years now. We pair up Wounded Warrior families and Gold Star families with sponsors around the country who take care of them by providing gifts for the kids for Christmas and a gift card so they can make sure they have a hot meal on Christmas Day. That is one of my favorite programs because it's just so impactful on both sides. The families obviously are getting the assistance, but the sponsors that, some of these people, they're just, it blows you away because they become friends with these families. They stay in touch with the families, and they involve their companies and their kids. And, it's been a lot of fun. So that's a program that we have that we've been doing this year. We just finished up the applications and pairing, and we had, I think I wrote it down, like over 240 families that we helped, over 680 kids. So, and we're still getting requests in, so we're still kind of helping. But that's been one of my favorites. There's so many of them. I just love being a part of this and helping and meeting the families, and it's like picking your favorite kid. I don't know. I don't know if I could do that.
So, as you've helped, and how many programs right now does Operation Ward 57 have?
I don't know the exact number, but we've got at least 6 or 7 programs going. We're close to probably doing some restructuring here soon now that the wars have ended, and there's less people coming to the hospital. So we're starting to kind of revamp some of our programs and find where the needs are so we can continue to serve. But we do things from the moment they're in the hospital. So it could be meals when they're there, clothing items, We used to joke that we'd go get. There was a guy once in his bed, and the bed squeaked. It drove him crazy. So our volunteer ran and got WD-40, and completely changed his mood. So it was, it could be a simple little thing. They get to the hospital with nothing, obviously, in their families. So anything we can do there, and then we do lifelong. So small emergency grants for rent and food. Um, we have a crisis line that is available for anybody to call. Um, we have a program that helps with the expenses of service animals, so like vet bills or maybe travel when they've been donated a dog, and they need assistance. We do holiday cheer events. We do a lot of morale boosting events, days for the veteran, days for the caregiver, days for the children. Um, kind of anything and everything that we can do. We also have a event that we have been partnering and doing for a while in Hawaii. That's a canoe regatta, um, and it's just amazing the opportunities that are out there to help. And we're always kind of trying to find ways. And there's more things that we do, but those are kind of some of the main ones that are out there right now. And like I said, we're working on developing a few more, especially looking at suicide prevention and how we can really make an impact. Um, there's a lot of awareness out there, but we're not we're not making a lot of headway in terms of reducing the number of suicides out there. So we're starting to explore a few options with, possible brain scans and some of those um, treatments that are out there. So we're hoping to launch those in the next year or two as well. So um, just trying to find ways to help every little thing.
Yeah. So, you might have said this kind of when you introduced Operation Ward, but is it specific to any branch of service?
So some of our programs are the financial grants are post 9/11. The service animals we don't have any restriction on. Um, a lot of our events we will say priority to post 9/11 wounded, but if there's enough space, it's open to everybody. Usually that's never an issue. Usually, it's pretty much veteran Gold Star gets in there. So we're pretty flexible in what we do. It's just the only one that we're a little more restricted is the small grants. And then adoptive family is Desert Storm to current. So because
So
they're
those are era veterans, but still open to all branches. So
yeah,
open to
oh
Air
yeah, all
Force,
branches.
Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard.
Yep, all branches. We also support military contractors. We also have been supporting some of the Afghanistan interpreters recently. So I'm really bad at saying no to people when they need help. So we've kind of stretched the help because if they've been in service to the United States and they've been hurt or injured or got sick as a result, I mean, we just want to help. So
Very good. So people can is the same true of the executive director before you? People can help by going on the website and making purchases, or donating, or volunteering. Right? Are
yeah,
those
so a lot of our obviously cash donations are the easiest because we're then dispersing it out where it's best needed with gift cards or food or grants. We do have like an Amazon wish list where people can buy some of the things that are commonly used while folks are staying in the hospital or, because sometimes they're there for a couple years, not necessarily inpatient, but they're living outpatient. So we have an Amazon wish list that people can go on and purchase, and then definitely volunteering is big. We're one of those organizations where a lot of our needs are event based, so we're always looking for volunteers to help with, um, us hosting events, um, behind the scene things, website work and grant writing, any of that kind of stuff is all very helpful for us. I work a full-time job in addition to running nonprofit. Almost all of our volunteers work or they're wounded warriors themselves. So, we all have busy lives and every little bit that people can do to help makes a big difference.
Very good. So when you say event based, I will share like my husband and I have done things like course marshaling for 5Ks and had some just really great experiences supporting Operation Ward 57. But you've also done sort of like a rock and roll concert and then the Desktop Music Festival. What's been your favorite event to do with Operation Ward 57? If you didn't
Uh,
look at the money, if you just looked at the event and the impact you felt you had.
um, I would say that there's two. Again, it's hard to pick. Definitely our rock and rally. So it used to be rock and rally for the troops, and then we switched it to Dust Off Music Festival. And that was originally a rock and roll. Then it became country, and that's been one of our fundraisers, and that's always fun. It's just music. We have a Brothers in Arms Motorcycle Club has always led a big motorcycle ride that ends at the event. We have vendors and a Wounded Warrior guest speaker, and it's just a really, really fun time to bring everybody together, support the nonprofit, but also educate people on what resources are out there and kind of get them, break some of the stigma that's out there. Um, that's always been a favorite of mine. I just love music's always been a big part of my life, and even the nonprofit kind of got started with a lot of, again, musicians and bands and stuff supporting. That's definitely one of my favorites. And then one of the other ones that we do is that canoe regatta in Hawaii. I can't describe how, we fly a group of veterans and their spouse or their caregiver to Hawaii, and there's this canoe regatta with 100 different teams out there of veterans and wounded warriors and Gold Star families that are competing, and it's just an amazing experience because we're able to bring these veterans together and they get to compete in a team. And a lot of them haven't been in a team environment since they left the military. And so to be able to have to work all together and figure out, the paddle and the rhythm, somebody calling cadence and this whole kind of thing. It's been very powerful for them. And they're doing it in a beautiful location. So they get to have time to themselves in Hawaii and relax and enjoy. And so, I mean, you just can't deny it's just one of the most amazing experiences and events. So we hope that continues. COVID has kind of derailed a little bit of that event stuff, but we're hoping to pick that back up.
So let's talk COVID for a second. So how has COVID impacted Operation Ward 57?
So it's impacted us in some ways, not as drastic as I think other organizations were hit. It did prevent a lot of what we can do in the hospital. So we've had to scale that back quite a bit and kind of work from a distance. So working with staff at the hospital. So instead of us bringing the items or hosting the events, we've been kind of mailing the needs when we need them. Or, we can have somebody deliver if we have to, but we've really had to limit that, which has been, hard for us to do. But then we basically had to kind of curtail a lot of our in-person events for a while because obviously not for a while, nothing was open and you couldn't do anything. So we tried to adapt during that time, providing some online events, a lot of like take and make type things, cookie decorating or something where they could go home and do it. Technology was pretty amazing during that time. On the flip side, what we saw was a very large increase in requests for assistance because people were losing their jobs, homeschooling their kids. There was a big loss of income. So our small grant went much higher, and we were helping a lot more. And our crisis line started, the calls doubled. People were really struggling. They had developed these healthy coping mechanisms like the gym or CrossFit or church, and then everything shut down on them. and they didn't have those coping mechanisms, and they were home with their family in a different way than they ever had. The kids were home. People got really lonely and really stressed out. So we definitely saw a huge increase in the number of people that were calling our crisis line. And, we were doing our best to get people through. But, we're starting to come out the other side of it now. And, you know, things are opening back up and people are starting to do a little bit better. um, but we still have to take precautions and be careful, and even with our events that we do, making sure everybody's safe.
Do you feel, is there anything that you learned as an organization from COVID that you're going to move forward with?
um, I think for us the biggest thing is just starting to get a little more creative in how we can help in different ways, where maybe it doesn't need to be as in person. The use of technology, or it's hard. We really want to move forward and help however we can, but you just can't tell with COVID what's going to change. So fundraising, you have to kind of rethink how you do some things. How are we going to raise funds if we can't host our events? So you're trying to think, how can I motivate people through social media? And it's really hard to fundraise. So I think our biggest goals will be how we can continue to get donations in, provide assistance, and keep people motivated, in the long run. I think that's going to be the biggest piece for us. And you can tweak the events and stuff. That going forward is doable. But if things were to shut down again, I mean, it's devastating on a nonprofit for donations, and even for us for sponsorship, it's really hard. I don't like going to a business right now asking for sponsorship because I know businesses are struggling on their own just to get back going. So that's one of the challenges that we've got to move forward with is, finding those donations and support, that are out there.
So if somebody, like if you had the most amazing interaction with people to donate, what would that look like? Like, would it be a company that has employee contributions that would go your way? Or is it like a grant that's kind of a one and done scenario? What do you think would be your perfect contributor, or a couple perfect contributors be?
Um, Definitely just grants. Unrestricted grants are obviously huge because again, we can tailor and develop the programs that we need and apply the funds the best way that way. So any large grants, corporate donations, those kinds of things are huge for us. Um, but we also do love having companies that want to help and give back in some way. So we recently, partnered with Foresters Financial, and they made these their members made these gift baskets for the caregivers that had, some tea and gardening things and just all these kind of relaxation and little handwritten notes, and they made them all, and then we mailed them out to all these caregivers around the country. Um, and again, it's just a little something, but it's amazing how powerful just getting a package in the mail when you've had a bad day and somebody's thought about you. So we're always looking for those kinds of things too. That's huge. Um, but our biggest thing is probably grants, and those funds to help us get the programs going, keep them going, and allow us to serve, the best way.
Cool. All right. So, coming into 2022, do you think so? We have right now uh, the Christmas support
Yeah.
a family program, right?
Yep.
That's, like anybody could go onto the website, which is listed, and they can financially help support veteran families for the holidays, right?
Yeah.
Going into 2022, you usually have like your WOD workout. When
Mhm.
is that during the year?
So that is our 22 WOD to end veteran suicide. That's our CrossFit event. That is usually on February 22nd. So 222 to represent the 22 veterans or approximate veterans that die by suicide. Um, so that happens every February. We'll probably in December open up registrations for that um, because we do a event T-shirt, and so if people want things before the event, we usually have to get that all wrapped up in January to get it in time. So we host that event. That's a wonderful event. It's CrossFits around the country do a special workout on that day or around that day. We have flexibility. Um, 22 exercises with 22 reps. And folks donate to support our crisis line and then the service animal program to help us, help veterans that are struggling. So that'll definitely be coming up February again. We love doing it. Um, it's a great program. Um, Trying to think what comes after that. We're right now we're
We're
all doing our we'll be doing some holiday events at the hospital in what capacity we can do. One of the things we buy are most people see them, they sell them at sporting goods and Costco, but they're the folding wagons um, that you can haul things around with. That's one of the most requested items at the hospital. So every year we do a wagon drive to purchase more wagons to give folks that are recovering at the hospital, and then if we have extra, we give them to families outside the hospital. But people haul their groceries, their prosthetics, their kids, their whatever they need, back and forth. So we'll be launching that here soon too.
very good. And do you think you'll do a dust off for 2022, which is a great name for after COVID?
I know, right? I know. We're hoping. We're still trying to navigate those waters and figure out because again, we're highly dependent on sponsorship, um, and we can't do it without the sponsorship. And so people are still just getting back on their feet. So whether or not we feel like we can financially make it work, but we've also looked at maybe kind of tweaking it and maybe downsizing it a little bit, um, pulling pieces out, or maybe launching something special in next year that we can do in a way that, doesn't require as much. There's a lot of moving pieces for Dust Off. So especially when you're booking music acts and production and all of that kind of stuff. So we definitely are going to have something. We just trying to figure out how we want it to look. So
So just because I am absolutely not the idea fairy, but I like to believe that everybody's out there for the good of all, right?
yes.
You know me. If a sponsor came in, what would be the amount that would just take the pressure off your shoulders? Is it a $50,000 sponsor, $100,000 sponsor, 25?
Um, I would say about 30 would take the pressure off. So I'll gladly do that. They can get naming rights. They can do whatever they uh, they want on
So
that.
you heard it here, folks. $30,000,
Yes,
and it could be the most amazing event called Dust Off in the state of Washington for veterans.
yes,
Just to put
yeah,
it out there. Who
yeah. It's
knows?
it's a really fun event. Great music, family friendly. There's silent auction. There's beer garden. Good music. Good speakers. Just good people. It's a good environment. So we definitely want to keep it going.
Okay. So if we tie it back to veterans, when a veteran reaches out to you, like you said before, you first try to figure out how they fit into one of your programs, right?
Yeah.
And then if you don't have a program that fits them, you try to work out through your resources.
Yeah, so it's kind of a lot of case management in a sense. You're kind of assessing what they're coming to you for. If it's hands-on need. There's a lot of great organizations around us that are willing to partner. We're not competing. We don't want to compete with nonprofits. Like, we want to all work together. So, I love reaching out to other nonprofits to say, hey, this veteran needs help, loading a U-Haul. They're transitioning out of service, but they can't do it because of pain. Do you have some volunteers? And we'll create these kind of teams that are able to do that. If it's financial, we do our best to reach out and help point towards some of the other organizations that are out there, or services that are out there. Because there's a lot out there, but when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, it's really hard to know where to start. So, we just want to help however we can. We may not be able to help everybody. Usually the needs are much greater, especially financially, than we can support. But we might be able to get you to the right people, or again, link amazing people out in the community who want to help with some of the people in need. We've had companies come to us to donate air conditioning units and furnaces, um, firewood, or any of that kind of stuff. And so sometimes it's just a matter of connecting those pieces.
Very good. So I will say, if you're watching us here on with Helping the Brave, definitely follow us if you like what you hear. We're here Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's really important. I feel, if you're a veteran and want to share your story with us, if you're a volunteer and want to get involved in any of the nonprofits that we showcase here, people like Brittney are amazing, but they are all across the U.S. And she has been working, like she said, since I think 2006, 2007 with Operation Ward 57. And I just really encourage people to get involved and share your stories. And let's work together to make things better and not necessarily have to participate in the narratives we see on TV.
Exactly.
So hang with me, Brittney. But thank you, everybody, for joining me. And we will see you on Tuesday.
Thank you.